Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Today I have a special guest for Sir Worldwide channel here. His name is Robert Bogan. And trust me, this brother is a positive, motivating force that all of y'all need to pay attention to what this brother's saying, because it's all good. Robert, give it to him.
Hello, folks. As stated earlier, my name is Robert Bogan, and I have a message. I have a message to all the folks in my community. And just to give you a little background on myself, I am a product of Los Angeles. I was born and raised in what has been labeled South Central Los Angeles. I've been a youth gang counselor. I've been a baseball coach, a football coach, a mentor, a counselor. I mean, I've done a lot of things in my neighborhood, and the passion for seeing positive growth in my neighborhood is a constant thing with me. So one of the things that I feel is extremely necessary that we are lacking, I'm not saying it's not there, but I feel like we're lacking, is financial literacy in our community. I think financial literacy is the basis of a lot of problems that we have, because for one, we don't know how to make our money work for us to the full extent, and we do sometimes some things for money that we shouldn't be doing. But we can grow. There are strategies that we can use to grow our community, because financial literacy is power. When you have a voice in the community, you have power. And when you are financially stable, you have a voice. So I think this is something that we really need to get into, is seeing where we can go with financial literacy. Just to let you know, in the United States, there are only 17 states that require personal finance classes in high school, and California is not one of them. So we need to come together as a people and be able to instill this literacy within us, in our children. We need to create generational wealth. And generational wealth is just handing down the knowledge as well as the finances to our grandkids, and their grandkids, to where there's a stable central unit of prosperity where we are not dependent on outside forces. Because if you're looking at this right now, we are in a serious state right now, and if we don't help ourselves, nobody else is going to help us. So I have been trained by some very high-level professionals in the financial industry, and I'd like to share that on this channel, and Rob has given me that opportunity, which I am extremely grateful for, because we need to get the word out. I'd like to ask you all a question, first of all. What's your retirement number? Now, you may look at me and say, retirement number, what does that mean? What number would you need to have securely in the bank, set to the side, so that you could retire and not have to worry about anything? Now, some of you may not have even thought about a retirement number before, but the purpose of this conversation is to induce thought. We need to think about these things, because before we can fix a problem, we have to acknowledge that the problem exists in the first place. And if we are not thinking about retirement, that's a problem. Because what happens in our community is three things. Either we have to wait longer to retire, or we retire and then have to go back to work, or we never have the opportunity to retire at all. So from an early age, from 15, 20 years old, we need to be thinking about retirement and saving something. And when you save, you can think about it as paying yourself first, because what you're doing is setting something to the side for you. So you are paying yourself first, and that's very crucial as far as retirement comes, because you can't wait until you're 60 to retire at 65. Let's think about this. most people retire at 65 years old. And for the sake of this example, let's just say that the life expectancy is 20 years. So we'll use round numbers. We'll say $1 million. If you have $1 million set to the side for a 20-year life expectancy, a 20-year retirement, that's about $50,000 a year over 20 years. Now, you're going to get taxed. Everything is taxed. So we'll use 20% as a tax rate. At 20%, that's going to be about $10,000 a year. So that $50,000 now is $40,000. So $40,000 divided by 12 months is $3,333. Now in future value, because you're going to retire in the future, not now, your dollar is reduced because costs are higher. Your dollar buys less. So can you survive off of $3,333? And that's using $1 million. That's $1 million put up for 20 years. So if you thought that you could make it in retirement for less than $1 million, can you really? So all I'm trying to do is invoke thought. We have to think about these issues, because when we think about these issues, then we can do something about them. Okay? So in this first segment, what I wanted to do is invoke thought. I want you to think about this, and I'm speaking with Rob. I'm hoping that we can get a series going to where that I can teach you some other financial strategies or impart on you some knowledge to just to make you think about it. Because if you think about it, chances are you'll do something about it. So let's start thinking about financial literacy, and let's start thinking about retirement, because you can't depend on the government to take care of you when you get to retirement age. We don't know what's going to happen with Social Security. Okay? So another thing is, when you get to retirement age, you have to think about medical costs. You have to think about other outside expenses that will have to be incurred. So my thing is, let's just think about things. Let's just think about these expenses. Let's think about retirement. Let's think about golden years really being golden years and preparing for that so that we can have golden years.
I have a question.
Sure.
Robert. How much do I need to retire?
Well, that varies. It all depends on your lifestyle. It all depends on your health, because like I said, medical is a reality as you get older. And medical is very expensive, especially if you don't have health insurance. Health insurance is more expensive for you as you get older. So for you to retire, I used an example of $1 million. So, and that's with a 20-year retirement. So it varies on the type of lifestyle that you would have. But what I would do is set a base number. This is the bottom line. I don't want to retire with less than this. And we have to start implementing strategies to grow our money. We cannot just sit around and think that it's going to happen. We have to grow our money, and we have to prepare ourselves.
Another question. What is the retirement age for Social Security?
Well, at the moment, retirement age for Social Security is 66. I think it's 66 in 2 months. Now, retirement is increasing all the time. It's 66 now, but it'll be 70 in a few years. So that age, as it goes forward, then that means that you have to work longer, and your Social Security is getting shorter. So we have to take that into consideration as well.
Okay. So what is the number one reason for bankruptcy? Because it seems like a lot of people, they retire and then they're in an arena that they thought they could live comfortable, but then all of a sudden they can't. And sometimes bankruptcy just shows up.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of times people buy a house and they look at that house as security. You know, they say, you know what, I can retire now because I have my house and I have somewhere to live, so I'm okay. But a major medical incident can be very expensive. And what happens a lot of times is when that major medical happens, people have to refi their houses to pay for the medical. What happens on the back end of that is, without a regular income in retirement, you can't pay the refinance on the house. You can't pay the mortgage. So your house goes into foreclosure. You have to file for bankruptcy. You don't have the income, and you have a medical condition, which puts you in a dire situation. So just having a house is not enough, because medical is the #1 reason that people go into bankruptcy.
Also, you mentioned earlier a retirement number. How do we find out what that number is?
You have to look at your expenses. Well, I have a program where I can do what's called an F&A, and I can help you figure out what your retirement number is. But it's a formula that I have to do. By yourself, you can do it as well. You just have to figure all of your expenses and project out how many years that you plan on being in retirement. You can do it by yourself, but I can help you with that as well.
Okay, so Robert, I really like the fact that you're talking about finance, especially to the young people, because they have no clue. I'll tell you a quick story. I'm not on camera, but I'll tell you a quick story that happened to me. I retired before 60, okay? And when I reached the age to get full Social Security, the government took half of my pension away from me. I mean, they took a lot of money, because they said, oh, you're at the Social Security age, you can get full Social Security, so we're going to take half your pension. I mean, a lot of people don't know that this is going to happen to them, but it happened to me. I don't know if it's a black and white thing. I don't know nothing about that. All I know is I got screwed big time by the government. So, and it's hard to adjust to something like that when I was retired for 4 years already, and all of a sudden they took half of my pension. The government did this. I didn't dream it. It happened to me.
Yeah, and I would tend to say that might be a common occurrence with people. Is
I think it is, but nobody
affected.
talks about it,
Right?
because nobody knows it's going to happen until it does happen.
Right.
I've been retired a few years now. It took me many years to adjust to losing almost $2,000 a month. It took me many years to adjust to that, man, and I still haven't adjusted properly.
And when you factor in time value of money, $10 of 15 years ago had greater value than $10 of today. So that was a major hit. Now that's one point. A second point is that not many people get pensions anymore.
That's true.
Not many people. Pensions they're not as abundant as they used to be.
No, they want you to have 401k now.
Right, and 401k, when you withdraw your money out of a 401k, you still have to pay taxes.
Right.
And you are taxed heavy.
Right.
There's a penalty if you withdraw early on top of the taxes. But at 59 and a half, you're eligible for your 401k. But regardless of that, you still have to pay the taxes. So even if you think that you're going to retire because your 401k has $1 million in there, you don't have $1 million. You have $1 million less taxes, which is around 30%, which is around what, 300,000 on $1 million. So that leaves you with 700,000. So your 401k, you really have to look at that, because you're going to get hit. You're not going to have that full amount.
So, Robert, I want to thank you for being on camera here today. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to this channel, because you're going to see Robert again, because he's got a stronger message to bring to these young people. They need to hear this, because they're just living their life, enjoying their life, and not thinking about retirement, because life is short. It comes up so fast. So stay tuned for the next segment when you see this gentleman again. Subscribe to this channel like this.